All right. Are you ready, friends?
I've been doing this for long.
Here we go.
Is this taboo?
You know what this is.
What did you ever? What color are your underwear?
You're crass and inappropriate. It's your trippy hippie Alicia jumping on the mic from good old Utah.
Fuck. Danielle, I'm starting to feel this shit.
Chandler's laugh. To Hard Talks.
Seduction.
Where the talks are really hard.
I thought this was Flaccid Talks. We'll be back on Saturday, Chris Cruz.
This shit sound deep.
Ring. This is Hard Talks. Hard Talks. Hard Talks. Hard Talks. You're listening to Hard Talks with a blonde and a hippie.
Hard talks?
I think so.
Forgot.
Goodbye. Hard talk abduction.
Yeah. Ooh, yay. Happy day to you, my beautiful Hard Talks fam. I hope wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this, you are having a wonderful day. You know how awesome and epic you are, and all that hard work that you're putting in, we see it, and we just want to applaud you. Yes. You made it to another weekend. Congratulations. It's your trippy hippie Alicia jumping on the mic from good old Utah. I'm joined this evening with some beautiful ladies, my co-host.
Your favorite blonde, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Hi. And we're also joined by the inspiring Michele Corning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I met Michele at the salon that Sarah and I both work at, and she just was telling me just a tidbit of her life and overcoming adversity. And I was like, my God, this could be so relatable to so many people, not only within the military, but also within the LGBTQ plus community. And so I asked her, I was like, would you want to come on and share your story? And I'm so glad that you said yes.
Well, thank you. I didn't even think I had a story. So
Everyone has a story.
So I heard from Corey, the salon owner, she was saying you were also on a TED Talk to share your story. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So it was affiliated with the Air Force for Women's Symposium. And one of my friends knew me from before, how I used to be until now, and said that I had a story. So they invited me and told me that I can only talk for about 10 minutes. And it can't even...
That's short.
I know. But it went over 15. But they said your story is pure and awesome, and we're going to use that 15. And then I had a prop, and it's recorded. But probably the biggest thing out of it is the women that came to me afterwards to be like, I need to talk to you more.
Yeah.
So
I think that your story is incredibly impactful in the sense that you lived a whole life before coming out and finding your partner, correct?
Correct.
So give me a little history on Michele. What's your story? How'd you meet your ex-husband?
So just pretty much at a liquor store.
An organic way.
The best way to meet.
Right. It was fun, charismatic, but always, artistic and very interesting. But through my entire time of growing up, it was more like you had to be a certain way. I was told, a woman meets a man, they get married, they have children, whichever. So to me, that seemed normal, but it also at the same time never felt normal.
Right. Did you grow up in a religious household?
No, actually, my mom was Presbyterian. However, she told me, you choose where you want to go. So
Good.
I was I was brought up spiritual, my sister and I, which I'm an identical twin.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yes. That's cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So she and I just kind of went the spiritual path. And then actually I kind of converted into Judaism, Reform Judaism, because of my ex-husband, and we wanted our son to be brought up Jewish to have my son understand that it's okay to be different than everyone else is.
Yeah.
And then I also I call it witchery. I mean, some could look at Wicca, but it's your journey. So I follow the moon, but I also follow into Judaism too, because it's all interconnected.
Absolutely.
I
That's
love that.
awesome.
That's really cool.
awesome. I think it's so important to have that knowledge, and knowledge is power, right?
Yes.
Give your kids the chance to pick up as much as they can. But I just asked because you said, you grew up with this idea, meet someone, get married, have children, etc. Sometimes a lot of
It's only between like a man and a woman. Like there's no one else in your
Sorry.
room. So it's
a lot of people's religion weighs on that. Anyways, continue.
Correct. Yeah. So, but for many years, I would have it be a feeling or an attraction towards the same sex. But to me, I was like, oh, well, I guess this is normal.
Right.
And then even during the time of just reflecting in the last 4 years, realizing who I really am. And, COVID kind of helped too.
Yes.
When, you're stuck all by yourself with your dog and you learn to really reflect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I did. And, I took that moment and through meditation and following the moon, because, you do your new moon wishes and then it comes into fruition through the full moon and you're like, oh, or it speaks to you even like a few days later, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I see what you're saying.
It all makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I see it coming. I got you.
Yeah.
Yes, but to be aware and to be present is to then get those answers.
Yes.
And so through that time, I was realizing and then reflecting even like 10 to 15 years back and be like, oh my God, this is what I've always been.
Like it makes so much more sense. Like I get why those feelings were there.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
How old were you when you met your husband?
I was 25.
And how long were you guys married?
We were married for 16 years.
Wow. And you have the one son together?
Yes, he
Okay.
is 14. He is my pride and joy. Yeah.
Aren't they?
Yes, they are.
It's amazing that when they're born, they're so cute, because when they get older, they're like, you had to be that cute at that age, because now I just...
Honestly.
But
I have a 6-month-old and I wanted to get rid of her on Monday.
Well, there was
I was like,
moments.
are you? I'm like, really?
But absolutely, pride and joy. So what finally was the moment where you were like, I need to separate or end my marriage? Was it during quarantine, or was it?
Oh no,
before?
it was every year of
Really?
the 16 years.
Really.
Yeah. But you're taught at a young age. I can only speak for me, but yeah, I have a wonderful mother. She's caring, she's nurturing. However, there was a lot that she went through.
Yeah.
So you emulate that same behavior
Yeah.
and you tolerate a lot. And so, and even societal upbringing, you're told that you're just going to have to hash it out. And this is the way it should be, and it has to be
The
difficult.
grass is never greener on the other side.
Correct.
Water where you're at.
Correct.
Yeah.
And stay for the kids and blah, 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 blah. But to me, it's like when my son sees that his mom isn't happy, that's not a life I want to teach my son.
Right.
And and it would be year after year, I would have those conversations with my ex, and it's like, this is not going to work. And until it was pretty much 4 years ago, I was like, I'm done. But it wasn't because of realizing who I was. It was more
tumultuous.
yes, it's like,
relationship.
I am so done. And realizing and telling him, I said, I am no longer going to hold on to your shame. I'm no longer going to hold on to your regret, your worries. You can have that back. And I just ask that you don't do that to our son. And I said, this hasn't worked. It won't work. And I'm going to leave. And he says, so you're just going to make this better. You're going to be the good one. I'm like, yeah, because you're not going to do it. So,
You're like, see you later.
I bet you had such a weight lifted off your shoulders.
oh my gosh, weight, but anxiety.
Yeah.
Because you've been holding on to so much. And then,
It's like 16 years of like deciding to leave, then finally leaving. You're just like, oh, wait. Like then you get like the second thoughts of you're like, well, shit, should I? But then you're like, no, I need to because this is what's right for me. But not only for your son too, because like kids are so perceptive. Like they see and hear literally everything. Like you
Well-
might not think they like you're behind closed doors. They see what like
they feel
how
it.
you feel.
They feel it, and you carry that with you too, you know. And for some people, you know, myself included, if I'm going through it, like I'm not the nicest person to be around either. So I might take some of my frustrations, not meaning to, out on my kids, you know. But also, you know, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about enough. You know, it's hard to finally leave because that's a whole life together. You know what I mean? A lot of people
Yes.
are worried that they won't make it on the other side, or they need that person to lean on as a crutch, or whatever your scenario is. I mean, you got to do what works for you. Absolutely.
the thing that made me stay was fear. And not necessarily wondering what I could do. It was fear of how my in-laws would think, how my son would think. Because I was always worried about protecting my ex. It was then, well, what about me?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, yeah, fear. And it's just been very recent knowing how the relationship was. I just recently thought, because I had a moment, it was a crossroads when I had left and we were still married. But then there was, after my son's school was done, because I was in Pennsylvania and they were in Utah. And there was that moment of, okay, now you can either go on your separate ways or bring them back to then Pennsylvania. And if I chose to do that, to feel the same way and be like, okay, because that's what they want, even though we're unhappy, the thought just recently, if I actually made that decision versus making the decision in the life that I have now, it just brings me anxiety to know that who I am, how happy I am, how relieved I am to then go back into that life. That is, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And it's when you have that moment of the fear, just letting go, but taking that risk and taking that jump. And I didn't know what was going to happen on the other side.
Yeah.
But I did it. And it makes me happier to know that, okay, you did it because you knew if you didn't, what you'd be in 4 years later.
The best things in life take the biggest risk and are the most scary, or are the biggest uphill fucking climb that you're going to climb. But on the other side, when you finally summit that mountain, absolutely, like you're saying, no regrets at all.
No.
And I think you brought up a key point. You know, a lot of people will separate for some time and be like, okay, well, this is hard. Even though I'm hearing like it was a tumultuous relationship. That's all you knew for 16 years. It would almost be easier to go back rather than push forward. But I commend you for it because so many people stay stagnant, aren't happy. You know,
Or wait for the kids to move out, get married on their own, and then be
but
like,
then
but
their
it's like
kids are like, especially if you're fighting, bickering, or if you're in an abusive relationship, your children are picking up, your sons are seeing that that's okay to how to treat a woman, and your daughters are seeing that, oh, that's what I deserve. That's how I should
well,
be treated.
mom went through it, so obviously I'm okay to go through it as well.
And it's not even an I'm okay thing. It's usually a subconscious, subliminal, oh, this is what mom thought she deserved. This is what. So, I mean, your kids, like, yes, I mean, you can't do it for the kids. I understand the want and the need. That's your family unit. But, I mean, think about what's going to cause less damage in the long run.
Right.
Because we're going to cause damage no matter what. We're human beings. We're parents. Nobody's
Even if
perfect,
you stay together
but-
and you're like, honestly, in like a perfectly happy marriage, like you're going to cause damage no matter who you are.
But if it's
Exactly.
toxic, like,
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do, even when it's scary. So, all that being said, how did your son take it or handle the news when you finally approached him about you coming out?
So that's the interesting thing is I actually just recently came out. And because of he knew that I left because it wasn't working. He knew I wasn't happy. Because I didn't leave because of me being gay.
Right.
I left for multiple reasons. And then on the brighter side, then actually realizing that I'm in love with my wife now, but we've been friends for 14 years. And
That's awesome.
so it's like, holy shit, I actually love this woman,
Right.
Like you had to like suppress those feelings because you were married and like that marriage, but then you get out and you're like, wait a second, I actually can really feel what I feel.
Exactly.
And not be like I can't because he's here, but I want to be with you, but it's like I can't. It's just like confusing. I don't know.
Right. And I mean, the feelings, like even though looking back, I had them all the time, not realizing, but then we didn't become romantic until just almost 3 years ago. Yeah.
Do you feel like you were trying to make sense of those feelings? Like you knew they were there, but you're like, oh, I just care very deeply for her.
Yes.
Like you were trying to almost make them into something else.
Yes, I was like, oh, well, I guess this is normal. And to me, I felt it being normal because of me being an identical twin, that we always had that bond. And so for me, it was like, oh, well, this is very similar to the bond that I have with my twin. And then, but it's like, but it's a little bit more. So to go back to answer your question, my son did take it very well.
Good.
And it was just this year, it was Thanksgiving. I was like, I need to talk to you. And, for years of just dreading, it's like, will he accept me for me? Knowing that, hey, your mom doesn't like the opposite sex. Are you going to be okay with that? And making sure that through the years that we've brought him up to be different and understand that everyone's different and understand that there are men with men, there are women with women, or whichever. There's men that want to be now women and now call themselves women. So he gets that. I mean, from reading books and watching movies. So we've tried, and that was probably the only thing my ex and I had in common was we were good being parents, and we still are.
Understanding and
Yes.
perception, yes.
Yes. So when I sat down and I was like, I just want to make sure, I want to tell you, there's something I need to tell you. And I was like, I'm gay. And he looks at me and he's with this smile, like almost like he now gets it. And he's like, that makes total sense, Mom.
That's beautiful. That's almost so reassuring.
That's so cute. I'm like holding my breath over here, and then you're just like, oh, this kid.
I mean,
I know.
Love him.
That's such a emotional, personal, close moment. You know what I mean? And I know so many people who struggle coming out because they're worried about not being accepted by their family or friends or whatever, by their church, whatever. And I think it's so important to talk about because it's not just young people who are afraid to come out to their parents. This could be anyone in any position, and I know that it was hard coming out because of also what you do.
Yeah.
But I think like normalizing that dialogue between people and being like, I'll never forget when my very best friend, he finally came out and he had champagne and it was just me and him. And I could tell that he was like skirting around something. And finally he said it just like that too. Just very matter of factly, I am gay. And I just remember hugging him and I was just like, I know, and he was like, I couldn't have asked for a better response because
I was
it was
waiting
like,
for you. It's fine.
and he's just like, I thank you for that because I built it up so much in my mind that when it finally came out, it was just so easy. It was like a breath of fresh air. And yeah, I think opening that, normalizing that dialogue, like I said, is so very important because it could be moms, grandparents, even. It doesn't have an age limit. You know what I mean?
Grace and Frankie and Grace.
Oh,
right?
yes.
I love that show. How their husbands come out to be gay, like they're like retirement age, and they're like, we're in love with each other, and they're like, what? I love that show.
No, I do too.
But it's like, it's so true though. Like how you said, it's like when you're younger, you can come out, like, or you just like, you're like, we're gonna wait for you to come out yourself.
Right.
You just kind of like, that's how my cousin was. We're all like, okay, you gonna come out anytime soon so we can talk about it, or are you just gonna kind of stay there? That's fine if you are. It's whatever. Then he comes out, we're like, yeah, okay. We were just waiting for you, making sure you knew because we all knew.
Yeah, it's almost like, oh my God, you've accepted me the whole time. It kind of just clicks for them and everyone at that moment too. I know everyone's scenario is different. Some people aren't as accepting, but just being able to be honest with yourself and just have that pride and confidence to finally like walk in your own power. That is
be who like
epic,
you are.
Epic.
It is. I mean, and the funny thing is telling my sister, to even my brother, my mom. I mean, every person, my friends, like I was expecting to be like, okay, well, see ya.
Good luck.
Good for you.
But everyone knew. And even now my wife, she knew a long time ago, but she knew it would be a journey. And she wasn't going to be like, oh, yeah, you are. And I told her, it's like, why didn't you tell me this? She says, that's your decision. That's your journey. But she knew she just wanted to be with me as a friend and knowing eventually. I mean, there was one point in our our friendship where I said, I just don't want to be with any man anymore. I said, I actually just want to be married to you as friends. And now we joke around because, it's inside jokers like, yeah, because friends do that. They get married.
Right. You're like, yeah, we're just friends getting married.
But I've been there too. I'm like, Sarah, leave your husband so you can help we'll raise each other's children.
Right.
Well, it's fine.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So was your wife with other females before you guys got together?
Yes. She's, I saw her with several, she was, man and woman. Yeah. So she's just one of those individuals that just likes all people.
I like all people too. But I think even that can be confusing sometimes because you're like, am I really attracted to this person? Or is it just that I really enjoy like the embodiment of that, just like all of them, if that makes sense. Sometimes that's hard to distinguish too.
So I had a coworker who she was married to a female and now she has 2 really cute kids with a male. And I asked her about it. I'm like, so like, are you like, I'm not really sure. And she's like, I love who I love. Like,
and
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter who it is. It's the personality that I fall in love with, not their gender. So I'm like, oh, okay. I get you.
Sense.
Right.
So now that your son knows, how long have you and your wife been married?
It'll be 2 years in May.
Very nice.
May what?
May 8th.
Shut up.
Yeah.
We got married May 8th too.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. Same twin anniversaries.
Look at us. That's so, I just got really excited.
Does your son get along pretty well with her?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess
he
knew her before.
Yeah.
So I think that would be easy. Well, easier. I don't know.
So yes, he knew Nikki as my best friend. But now it's more of like, okay, I'm getting used to the fact, but it almost seemed like he kind of got it at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think, there was just that slight apprehension, but knowing that he can feel relaxed around her. So he actually more and more, they just bond. I mean, in Thanksgiving, they bonded and yeah.
Pretty soon it'll just be like bonus mom.
Yeah.
Bonus mom. Exactly. I think that's a good point though too, is like, if you have family members who aren't as accepting as others, I think like, again, still being honest, like giving them also the time to process, because sometimes it takes some time. I have a cousin who is going through transition to be a male, and my uncle really just doesn't understand that. And as he proceeds, he's just like, that's fine. At least I feel good in my own skin, knowing that he knows he'll come around eventually. I think like with transition specifically, like you have to allow your family members to, I don't want to say the word mourn, but like process.
I was thinking that too.
That first person is no longer there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because there's so much verbiage now. You also have to help educate your family members. I think that's huge, especially in an age of overly offended people, right? We only know what we know. So I think it's very important to share and educate. And I think that might ease like some of the difficulty if they are struggling with that news, if that makes sense. I don't know. But going to your career, you are in the Air Force. Yes. And I mentioned this to you before we started recording because, for one, it's still very hard as a woman to hold rank, especially a high rank within any branch. So how long have you been in the Air Force for one?
It'll be 24 years in May 6th.
May 6th. Wow.
Love May.
Was your ex-husband in the military as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what is your official title?
So I am a production superintendent for Officer Accessions Recruiting.
Isn't it funny that they have like the longest titles ever too?
What?
It's like let's make this as complicated as possible. But so being in the Air Force for that long, how was the dynamic in climbing throughout your career?
So I just worked harder. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've always done. And especially like the rank that I'm at now, which is Senior Master Sergeant, it's the second to the last rank you can get. Mm-hmm. And now knowing that I have one more hurdle to climb to hopefully make the last. I mean, those are my ambitions. I'm doing everything I can. I do have allies and advocates. Yes. But it's ensuring that I still have a voice. Mm-hmm. And but I'm also not weak. I've been accused of being too passionate or put my emotions in. It's like, this has nothing to do with my emotions. It's
like, I'm sorry, I'm a female. Like,
exactly.
Well, sometimes you need a little passion to cut through all that damn red tape. God.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. So it's just have it be like I didn't get the promotion or whichever. I didn't allow those naysayers to bring me down. I just like, okay, so I'm just going to work a little harder and I'm going to do a little extra.
And like, well, sorry about the emotionals.
Right.
My bad.
But, I've learned along the way. I remember a conversation I even had. We have a leadership group just where I'm at now, and we call it the top 5. Mm-hmm. And where we were getting to know one another for our personality. And what they found interesting was my highest, because they tell you it's like over 25 sections of your strong points. And it's from kindness to honesty to creativity and so forth. And my first was kindness, to where the the foreman, because I'm the only female.
Yeah.
The foreman, their first trait was honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a joke. I mean, we do have a great relationship. I could never ask for a better leadership group. But they specifically, they were teasing me about, oh, well, honesty is like number 16 of your trait. And kindness is number 1. And I was like, so you're not really honest. And I'm like, no, I'm honest.
To a point.
To a point, but there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I could, from my predecessor, say exactly what the male predecessor said in my position, but the reaction or the response or how people will perceive it will be taken out of context.
Yep.
Because I'm a female.
Mm-hmm.
So
you came off too bitchy.
right. Or
why is it that when a woman walks into a meeting confident, knowing her shit, she's a bitch, but when a man walks in like
He has confidence.
well, yeah, and it's just
like,
like,
oh, yeah,
automatically,
he's got it.
praise him.
Right.
Yes.
I don't
everything.
understand that.
What I hate is when you go to handshake someone, like when you're a female, they go like this.
Oh,
They're like, hello. You're like, I don't want a limp dick
Oh
handshake.
no, I'm a good handshaker.
Yes.
I need. It feels weird. I'm like, why are you limping?
It's funny
handshaking
because
me?
most men that shake my hand are like, "Oh, you have a good handshake." I'm like, "Yeah, my daddy didn't raise that bit." No, I'm just kidding.
Honestly, you're just like, I'm not gonna be like,
It's a dead fish.
exactly. No, and then I'll take their hand, and they're like, "Oh, yes, you shake."
You're like, I want to shake your hand. I'm not gonna just be like,
right.
Oh my gosh,
That drives me crazy. And that actually, to me, that shows them as a character. I'm like, okay, I'll watch out for you,
right?
Because you
You're like-
have some interpretation or a different perspective than I do.
Like when you go like that, like that's like a big thing too. Is like that's your first like contact of like, okay, let me look in the eye, let me give you a handshake, a firm handshake instead of like a let me just grab your fingertips because that's how I perceive you. Be like, no, handshake, please.
Yes.
Well, and a lot of people will pride themselves in saying like, "Oh, we've come so far in women's rights in the 1950s," but it's an ignorant thing to say like there is no systemic sexism, especially within the government. You know what I mean? And we sure can get jobs. We have to work harder for those positions, like you were saying, but also like it's demeaning to walk into a meeting and know your shit better than any other man in that room, and them still look at you like you're some kind of you're cute. You know, you're a cute little joke. Or you're doing this for a hobby, good for you. I'm like, no, like, what's up with that?
So I'm used to just speaking up, or if they don't hear me, I'll just get a little louder, or ensure that whatever they tried to speak over me, it's like, okay, I'll let you finish, and then I'm going to say my point, and I always do.
Yeah.
Another thing that people like to say that has gotten so much better is being gay or lesbian within the military used to be a big no-no, or at least you didn't talk about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they say now like things have gotten better. What is your point of view on that?
I can honestly say things have gotten better.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember it was pretty much 2012 is when they were talking about like taking away don't ask, don't tell.
Right. Which is a real thing. Tell the people about doing that really quick.
So don't ask, don't tell is pretty much where you know as a person internally that you are gay. However, you're going to join the military without expressing who you are.
Yeah, or sharing
Or
that
sharing who
information.
you are, yes. And knowing and even hiding who you are. So even having the relationships you couldn't necessarily have.
Very under wraps.
Yes. So to then be able to then take that away and you can, if you wanted to, express who you are, date or be who you want to be with, not yet married. That was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And so
and that was in 2012. Like
that was
what you
in
were saying.
2012.
So the do not ask, don't tell went on for, I mean, shit,
Years.
Well,
since 1947 for the Air
Yeah.
Force.
And
So.
let's be honest, like one of those things.
so it's kind of, I'm glad that they took that off the table, but also it's sad that it took that long.
Well, I think things do take a long time, but also, even we're seeing it now with the generations coming into office or a congressperson or whichever. The generation is changing. But you still have the old school mindset as well, but you have the new progressives coming in. So yes, it's unless we just have a completely different change in government, with hope that they welcome progression, then then anything changing will be a slow process. I celebrated it just for the people in 2012 to then 2013 when same-sex marriage became legal and then federally legal and then legal in the military. I'm like, oh my gosh, so people can actually be themselves and marry who they want and then they get actual privileges.
Yes.
That's nice.
That's beautiful.
So that part was exciting for me to see that, not realizing that eventually I'll be there too.
Right.
But to see the progression and the change within the military, because in the Air Force, I've just been in the Air Force, but working with other branches, there's still a zero tolerance for any kind of discrimination from gender, age, race, whichever, religion. So I've been lucky to experience that, knowing that, okay, eventually I'm going to retire and I'm not going to see those same things. Yeah. Even pay equality. Probably the only thing that you see the difference is the struggles when it comes to promotion, is knowing that minorities and women and minority, you do have that, you face that, but that's all I can be is a voice and say, because people ask me, well, how do you do it? And it's like, I guess just so I don't give up.
Yeah.
But my mom, she always said from the very beginning, she says, you can do anything as long as you put your mind to it.
Absolutely.
So that's what I've always done.
Mind over matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Well, and how many tours have you done?
So I've done, let's see,
over 2 decades.
Over 2 decades. I think I've done, 7 and 8. Yeah, 8 tours.
So would you say, depending on like where you were stationed, there was more progressive areas than others?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yes. So the funny thing is my first station was at Utah. I graduated high school here.
Oh, that's cool.
Layton High. I joined the Air Force here. Yes. And I got stationed right back here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone gets stationed here in the Air Force.
I
Like,
know.
where'd you come from? Like, Utah. And I'm like,
Hill's
it's okay.
a huge installation.
It is.
So yes, it brings in a lot of people. But anyways.
Yeah. So then I joined recruiting, and that's when I saw the diversity, believe it or not. So you're in this bubble in Utah. It was nice to come back July, I just got here, back here, and you saw the diversity. And you're like, oh, where'd this come from? Because I was stationed here 3 times. So my first station, and then I got stationed here from 2015 to 2018, and then back again, just July. And I saw the growth just from 2.5 years. Yeah. And so it's nice to see that there's that diversity, but that old school mindset still in Utah, they're trying to hold on to it. Yes.
Desperately.
Yes. So to think, grow up your last 2 years of high school, go through, the Air Force the first 6 years, you're so used to something. And then leaving, the diversity. I was in Eureka, California. I was in Houston, Texas. I was in Arlington, Virginia. Then getting back to Utah, and then Pennsylvania. And then back here again, you definitely see the difference. And it's welcoming. and realize it's like, okay, Utah has still some growing up to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hear that all the time from people who are just moving here, especially from the East Coast, and they're like, "No, they're not kidding about culture shock." You know, it's kind of funny too because the LDS Church has a big weigh in on the conservatorship, if you will, on Utah. So it's either one extreme or the other, I feel like.
Right.
But the base is cool because, I mean, as you were saying, diversity, it's brought in so many other, you know, different cultures, ethnicities. I mean, this was predominantly a white state for a very long time.
Yes.
So to see that we are growing a little bit, it's good, especially, you know, where we live in Ogden, a lot of gentrification going on, but a lot of history here too. And you wouldn't think so because it's such a young state. But, you know, I have a curious question though, you know, going back to your ex-husband.
Okay.
Not that it matters, his opinion, but did you tell him when you got married? How did he take that news, if so?
Okay, so no, I didn't tell him. He was the last one I wanted to tell. But
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
because knowing whatever I tell him, it won't matter.
Right.
Because he's always to blame. He's the victim.
Is he a little bit of a narcissist?
Oh, yes.
Because we know lots of those.
Yes. Yes. So, and the funny thing is, I mean, he hasn't been diagnosed, but I've read a lot about narcissism, and because I have books and just going through therapy, and they're like, maybe you should read about narcissism, and you find some, you're like, oh, maybe I have some injuries that I need to correct. And
Yes, some trauma.
right. And you don't think that, because he's not the overt narcissist. He's more of the, I'm the victim. I'm doing everything great.
The whole world's out to get
The
me.
whole world's out to get me. Look at me. Look how great I am. But then you can't really express having fun or go out or anything like that. So, no, I knew it wouldn't do anything as much as I want to have that conversation. I know it won't matter.
Yeah.
But I asked my son, I was like, because he says, well, can I tell my dad? And I said, well, I'd like to tell him. And how would you like to do this? And he says, well, I'd like to be there because he does live, my son lives with his dad, because I know I can't give him the soccer life because my son is totally into soccer and the Olympic developmental team. And so it's,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So is he back in Pennsylvania still?
He's actually in Taos, New Mexico.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
At least it's closer
Yes.
than Pennsylvania. Right? Yeah.
Yes. So I asked my son, I was like, so did you happen to tell your dad, or how would you like me to tell him? And he's like, well, he kind of figured it out. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he says, well, as soon as I got back, he was asking me how the trip was. And then the next question is, so is your mom with Nikki? And I was like, I was like, but it didn't surprise me because my ex definitely has some psychic abilities, or he just knows, but then he doesn't really express it. And that's why, to me, it's like, if you knew that and you asked the first question when our son came home, then why didn't you know that? Why isn't it not?
Like, why is it such a big surprise?
Yeah, what's the big surprise? I think the only thing that bothered me from my son is when he's like, well, if your mom was gay, why did she even marry me? And it's like, okay.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to marry this guy. I'm gay, but I'm going to.
You're my beard.
Yes.
Why I'm in Utah. Okay? It's
Exactly.
fine.
I'm going to marry you, and then I'm going to be only married to you for about 16 years, and
I feel
then
like
I'm
it's a
going
good
to
timeline.
ruin the life.
I
Yeah.
think it's a good timeline.
Yeah. I had it all
Just
figured
only-
out.
Yeah.
I just wanted a child out of you, and then I was going to
Exactly.
wait a couple more years, think about it, mull over it, and then be like, all right, I'm done.
Right.
Oh, that's probably just like the narcissism coming out, though, because I'm sure on some level he did know,
Yeah.
but he probably never wanted to admit that to himself. And after it did come out, or he made that guess, he probably was just like saying it in anger, like, or maybe even some hurt. Like, I don't know, like whatever. I don't know. But you're right. That's why I said that in the beginning. I'm like, I know this doesn't matter, but I'm always curious about those scenarios because I don't like any of my exes. And I'm always like, yeah, watch me out here living my best life, bud. Like, it was just Valentine's Day. And I had some memories of my ex-husband pop up. And I was like, oh, kind of sad. And then a girl was like, oh, no. You should like revel in the fact that your face is popping up in all of your ex's memory feeds today and be like, oh, you're probably sad, but I'm better off. So ha ha. You know what I mean? Rub it in a little bit.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. But to your wife, you know what I mean? I know that you've known her for, you said 14 years.
Yeah.
How did you meet?
15 now.
How did you meet during that phase of your friendship? And then how did you know that you were in love with her? What was the moment that was like, God damn it, you're my lady?
I mean, we met. She was, I think we met on base. And
so is she in the Air Force as well?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes. And we just really hit it off. I mean, she's probably the most funniest person I know. And we just click. And the one thing that really interested her about me, and it was more like just friends, but I had really long hair.
You did.
Yeah. I had it down to my my knee. Yeah, it grew. And I remember when I took it down. Yeah.
What would you do with it?
I had just put it up. There are moments I would just brush my crown and then I would like get some like massive dreadlock, but then my bun would get bigger and bigger. And I'm like, ooh.
Well, and I know some squadrons or units are a little more strict on so how big was this bun? I'm imagining a giant.
No, it was just kind of in the back because my hair is fine too. But
oh my gosh.
So it would just be in the back and it would just like you put it up and then that was it. So
I bet a lot of people wouldn't even guess that it was that long.
No,
that's crazy.
Didn't. And so when I took it down one time for an event, because we eventually were in the same squadron, she was my computer person. And I took it down and she's like, holy crap, look at her hair. And then of course she tells her friends and she's like, oh my God. So, and then she's like, I want to be her friend. And then knowing her, it's like, yes, she's kind of the person. And I think with the first connection was she just up in the blue called me and we talked for like 3 hours on the phone and crying. And it's like, I get off the phone. I'm like, huh. And she was probably the same way. I mean, because we've talked about it too. And then our just friendship over the years just progressed and progressed and progressed. And there was a moment where I was then seeing her in a different light. And I was like, well, this is interesting. And then I told her about.
You're like I kind of like you.
Well, that's
a little bit more than
but it's not even. I didn't say I kind of like you. I just told her I was like, so I thought about you, and she's like, huh, really? and then that's when we would still talk and hang out, and then there was a moment where I moved to Pennsylvania, and she was still there, and we actually lived together, but it was strictly platonic. And then she moved to England.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah, because she had an assignment to England. And it's just like, oh, crap.
Those assignments are never short.
I know.
Especially when you're going through it. It's like, you're going to be gone forever.
Yes. And then as soon as pretty much she left, it's like, okay, this is different. Because, knowing that when we lived together, it was the best 6 months because she's so fun and she's so easy to live with. And I'm like, wow, okay. So definitely we could get married as friends. No big deal. I could live with her. Everything's fine. But then she leaves for England and it's like, okay, this sucks because I missed her before, but now I miss her and ache for her.
And you kind of, it's different than missing a friend.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let me ask, did she ever experience any pushback or discrimination for being gay or gender fluid within the Air Force? Or she had a good experience like yours?
I can't really speak for her.
Right.
I know she's always been secretive because that's just who she is. I mean, that's literally who she is. But also, she's African American.
Okay.
So her experience is definitely different than
Absolutely.
mine. And even I've seen it to where the treatment that she's received, sometimes, I wouldn't say bad. There was a moment when she was in a squadron where it's like, you need to get out of that squadron. And that was before, right before she moved to England. And knowing that when she moved to England, then they saw who she really is. That squadron was definitely holding her back. And I don't know if it was because of the color of her skin, but you could tell the treatment from the minorities to the people, the white and even the males. So I think after getting out of that squadron, she's definitely evolved. And people are, are seeing who she is. But as a gay interracial couple, we even experience certain things just in real life. Like I'll say, hey, can you go? We go somewhere, and I say, can you go? Because I'm like feeling lazy, and I'll stay in the car. She says, no. Can you go? Because you're white.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so to me, that's like, oh gosh, it sucks that you have to do that. It is.
Like, why does this?
It shouldn't be that way, but we know what we deal with, and we work with it.
Yeah.
And she knows in some areas, like she knows, like when we went to Memphis, she knows, like, okay, I'm not going to take her in this neighborhood unless I'm with her.
Yeah.
Or so, but it's just, it sucks that you have to do that. Why can't we? I understand. I don't believe in being colorblind because that's not what I'm saying. You can't be colorblind. You have to be aware of people's different perspective, their skin color.
Absolutely, because like you said, they are still experiencing things that we as white women have never experienced.
And will never experience.
And we won't.
And I even said that, like, systemic sexism, people who say that systemic racism isn't a thing anymore is absolutely wrong. Just look around.
Right.
I mean, especially, and if you work for any government entity, especially the military, it is still there. It is still there. And we can't turn a blind eye to that either. You know what I mean?
We can't. But there's what makes it different is the people in the leadership. And even me being part of the leadership is you can definitely know, especially just within my leadership, knowing that, hey, we need to make sure the minorities have a voice and we're going to do our part. And that's what I appreciate, the culture that I'm in. But I can't speak that for everyone. Right. And there is that systemic, because it's been built in us. It's in from our textbooks as we grew up. I mean, taken out of the textbooks.
Right.
I mean, there's the fight of banning books and taking out even history even more.
Whitewashing it.
Exactly. So it's my theory is if you can, even if it's just that one person that can make sure to continue to educate, to continue to voice, knowing what you're dealing with, but still taking that step forward in the right direction. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do.
Honestly.
And I mean, you really nailed that in the head. I was just a contractor for the military, and I had a gay coworker, and he kept it very secret, not because it was a secret to anyone who personally knew him, but just because it hindered his chances as a white male even for promotion. And so it was just, I don't know, like, I think opening up and having that platform kind of to cause that ripple effect of change. I mean, that's huge. And, you know, your wife is obviously a kick-ass lady. Awesome to her. That is she in a leadership role as well?
She is.
That's
yes.
awesome.
I think she's to me, I think she's a better leader.
But you guys are inciting change. And that's
we are
fantastic.
and that's the thing. And I mean, we complement each other, we inspire each other. I think she inspires me more. It's just I look up to her. People ask like, who's your role model? And it's like, I look at her and like, she is.
That's beautiful.
Because I mean, she's always been who she is. She allows me to be me. And she just bleeds equality and fairness. And she'll just say it, and she'll say one little phrase, and she just kind of she'll put me in my spot, she'll put people in their spot, but it's just like, and it's not rude.
Right.
It's like, I didn't think about it that way. And that's why she's just inspirational. She's just...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's way
This
cool.
is like from left field, but that reminds me of a meme. And it was like, if your person isn't bringing you inspiration, positive energy, income, or orgasms, they don't belong in your life. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
But it's true, to be inspired by your significant other or your partner. I mean, that's all I want out of life.
I know.
First, I need to find a partner, but I'll let you know when I do. I'm just so happy for you, that it's been a long journey with a lot of curves in the road. But I mean, you seem so happy and empowered.
I am. And probably the biggest thing is because I can finally be myself and not be judged or be questioned. And it's probably the most liberating thing ever.
That's beautiful.
That's way cool.
And I just love that you guys are open to share your story, because everyone's is different, but you feel so alone and like nobody could understand, but you're never alone. There's people going through the same feelings and the same emotions right now, same as you. And so I think, like we were talking about, the only way cause for change is talking about it, being open, being vulnerable. It's important to have these key discussions, especially when they make you feel uncomfortable, right?
Right.
Because, like I said earlier, some of the hardest things or the most painful things or the most uncomfortable things turn out to be the best, or
The most beautiful.
it's like laying bricks. So yeah, if any of you guys listening can relate to Michelle's story, she also has a TED Talk episode. We'll share that information in our show notes. But really, I just wanted to thank you for coming and getting to know us and letting us get to know you and letting our fam get to know you as well.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been real.
I'm sure, again, a lot of people can relate. Hold on. Sarah, do you have any questions?
I'm good. Yeah.
I always have to include that. I always forget that in the end. If you guys would like to give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook, you can do so at Hard Talks with B&H. We are also on Twitter at Hard Talks with B1. If you want to go check out our Patreon page, all of our episodes drop 2 days early on Wednesday, so you get an early dose of Hard Talks if you like it, or if you like it. And we also have our bonus episodes that come to you once a month on there as well. If you want to shoot us an email to be a part of the conversation, ask us any questions, or just shoot the shit, you can do that at hardtalkswithbnh@gmail.com. Michelle, thank you again.
Thank you.
I hope you have a great day. I hope all you beautiful humans out there have a great day. Stay wise. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. Sarah, I'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Perfect.
Oh, great.
Oh,
That was awesome.
I know.
Thank you.
Absolutely.